It's time for the lightning round with Brad Butt. Brad, are you all set to go?
Yep, let's roll.
All right, here we go. The Chief Medical Officer of Health for the region of Peel is talking about closing down businesses that have COVID cases. What's the details?
So Dr. Lowe has announced that starting this Friday, he will be using his powers under Section 22 of the Health Protection and Promotion Act to close businesses down if they've had 5 or more COVID-related cases related to the workplace, and they will be closed down for a minimum of 10 days. This could be very, very difficult for a lot of businesses, and we'll just have to see how it gets implemented.
Brad, the provincial stay-at-home order is we're really not sure. Are you supposed to stay at home? Do you not stay at home? Can you go to the playground? You can't go to the playground. What's the latest from out of the province?
Well, last Friday's announcement by the Premier and several cabinet ministers was, in my opinion, probably the most confusing set of announcements that we've heard during the entire COVID pandemic. I'm not even sure anymore what to say. Who can open, who can do what powers the police have or don't have, and others. This is a mess. And I know the province is trying to do their best to respond in appropriate ways, but it was just a disaster area.
Federal budget was out this week, and one of the promises, national child care program, which has been announced before. Why is this one going to be any different?
Well, maybe the Liberals this time is 3 times lucky. Of course, they've promised a national child care program on other occasions. It was definitely in yesterday's budget, $30 billion to be dedicated to it over the next 5 years. I mean, there'll be a lot of negotiations that'll have to happen with the provinces, but the federal government's goal is to get child care down to $10 per child per day across the country. And child care is an economic driver and a workplace important workplace issue, and so the Liberals are banking on getting it done.
Brad, the budget also called for an extension to the wage subsidy and rent subsidy, but they're back on the bandwagon of reduction of those subsidies. That's problematic.
Well, what they did is they did 2 things. They extended both those programs till September 25th, but what they're really trying to do is wean people and businesses off of those programs. So in one hand, they say, yes, we're going to continue these programs, which have been essential, and other businesses are just on the verge of reopening that are going to need the full benefit of those programs, and yet financially, they're going to be scaling them back. They're probably going to have to rethink that one.
Brad, in the budget was a Canada hiring recovery program. How do businesses get involved with that?
Well, we'll have to wait to see the details, but the goal is for new hires, the government is going to subsidize part of that pay or salary, as the case may be. So we'll see what the rollout of that program looks like. They've put a fair bit of money in the coffers for that. So this will be for new hires and businesses to help them bring more people obviously on board in the workplace and have their salary subsidized by the federal government.
Brad, when we think about the deficit and the debt, the deficit on this particular budget, $354 billion, creating a $1.4 trillion debt. How do you even wrap our minds around that? And what does the future hold for Canada?
Well, the numbers are just catastrophic. I mean, it's this past fiscal year, you're right, David, $354 billion deficit. Now, that was a lot of one-time, obviously, spending due to the pandemic. They're projecting $154 billion deficit for 2021, 2022. So shaving about $200 billion off that in the next fiscal year. But this is a lot of debt on the future of Canadians.
I think the only saving grace in this is that there's a lot of countries that are in the same boat as us. That's it for the lightning round. Brad, we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, David.